Hello, I'm Josh Rubin. This is a presentation I gave at the Partnership with Patients Summit entitled The Patient-Centered Learning Health System, What Our Health System Can Learn from Us. I began by really explaining that I think two of the least utilized resources in healthcare and in health, notice how the goal of transforming health care system into a health system with the struck through care, two of the least utilized resources are patients ourselves and caregivers, because every one of us will be a patient or a caregiver at some point, and lessons that are learnable from our collective experiences. Put another way, as a very well-known patient activist, E-Patient Dave would say, let patients help. And another thing is sharing saves lives. That's where we're beginning as our assumption for how we can improve healthcare. So patient participation is at the center of both of these. When patients participate more actively in the process of medical care, we can create a new health system with higher quality services, better outcomes, lower costs, fewer medical mistakes, and happier, healthier patients, as a gentleman named Charles Safran once said. I thank the woman who put this event, the Partnership with Patients Summit, together. Her name is Regina Holiday. She's an amazing artist who transformed her caregiving experience of her late husband into really what might be at the start of a national movement. And in fact, Forbes has speculated that Regina Holiday could be to healthcare what Rosa Parks was to the civil rights movement. So really, patients are starting to want to take control. And in fact, there really is a patient movement building that I think is as big and as important as the human rights, civil rights, and the unalienable rights movements in our nation's history. And of course, something interesting to think about is if you had a movement like this and you gathered, let's say, a 1 million patient march on the National Mall in Washington, probably some people would get arrested. And that would be interesting because when you get arrested, they'll be told you have the right to remain silent, you have these rights. It would be the first time in many of their cases some of them read them their rights. And what I mean by that is, when you're arrested and the government might be taking away your freedom or even your life, a series of rights are triggered. But when you're diagnosed with a condition that could take away your freedom to move around, your quality of life, or even your life itself, nobody ever says you have the right to the information you need to make a good decision. You have the right to the tools you need to utilize that information, the literacy you need to understand it. Nobody has said that you have rights, but I think it's just as important there as it is when you're facing a criminal charge. Moving on, at the center of these rights is the need for information, and that's been recognized since the time of our founding fathers. How does this fit in with my boss, Joe Kanter, the namesake of the Joseph H. Kanter Family Foundation? Joe was turned 89 recently, and you'll see an image of his book about his experience that has led him to spend almost the past 2 decades of his life working on this. He is a self-made businessman and now a philanthropist, devoting his efforts full-time to trying to transform our health system, making better use of patients ourselves and lessons learnable from our collective experiences. In the early 1990s, before internet was even a household word, Joe was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he wanted to know what treatment would work best for his prostate cancer. And he asked each of his doctors this question, and they would say, in my experience. And Joe says, with all due respect to your experience, what I want to know is every patient, anonymously, but every patient, my age, my demographics, my comorbidities, who's had prostate cancer, what treatment do they have, and what worked best? And that information was not available in healthcare then and still isn't. And that really led Joe to a transformative vision for healthcare that would involve capturing our collective health experiences over time and learning from them. But the conclusion at the time is that our health system was and still is insane. And I think one definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And in fact, our health system right now might even be a step below that, because we really aren't doing a great job of capturing what the results are, what the outcomes are, so we're not possibly going to learn from them. And that's got to change, and that's what our job is, to change that. What are some consequences of this insanity? Well, the Partnership with Patients Summit lasted for 2 days. During those same 2 days in America, 3,300 Americans died of heart disease, another 3,100 died of cancer, 500 died of preventable medical errors in hospitals alone, and another 400 died just by not receiving what was known to be the best care. 1,100 women were diagnosed with breast cancer. 700 of those 1,100 women got treatments that didn't work for them. And in fact, according to a former head of Eli Lilly and Company, for any medicines prescribed during those 2 days, it was 50-50 whether it was actually going to work. We spent $14 billion on healthcare over those 2 days, out of which $4 billion was wasted. $4 billion wasted every 2 days in this country. We can't afford that, and maybe that's why our system is ranked 37th worldwide, and 60% of Americans don't think we have the best health system. So it's our job to work together to change that. We're in a state of crisis, and interestingly, in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of 2 characters. One's danger, one's opportunity. Let's seize this opportunity and do something. And that is what led to Joe's big idea, which is now referred to as the learning health system. Many said it couldn't be done at the time. This was, again, before internet was even a household word. That only inspired Joe to work harder and try harder to make it happen. So what is a patient-centered learning health system? According to the very prestigious Institute of Medicine, it's one in which progress in science, informatics, and care culture align to generate new knowledge as an ongoing natural product of the care experience, and seamlessly refine and deliver best practices for continuous improvement in health and healthcare. What it does, in my view, it leverages the power of the collective real-world health experiences of millions of people over time, captured electronically, to enable rapid learning that empowers individuals and ultimately improves human health. It promises to transform healthcare in much the way that the invention of writing transformed human civilization. So just as the invention of writing was the first time you got to record things and learn from experiences and build on the lessons of previous generations, that's really what's going to happen with healthcare. What your lessons learnable from your experiences don't go to the grave with you anymore. Current and future generations will be able to learn from them. So what's this all about? We're working together to give the gift of health to children and our nation. It's a brand new health paradigm, quite figuratively, quite literally, in which we all can share. You'll be able to benefit from what others went through,